Dom. So for those people who don't know, in Darwin and for our friends, in Australia, we have what we call local government, and they are responsible often for very practical things like rubbish bins and recycling, and people pay rates if they have a house in Darwin. But also they're responsible for lots of other things that happen in our city. And so our supporters and your friends here have been talking to the local council, Darwin City Council, about what can they do about your release. Dom.
Thank you. Thanks everybody, and I'd like to also acknowledge that we're on Larrakia land, and thank you, our 9 brothers and sisters, for being so patient and showing such equanimity in otherwise tragic circumstances. And thanks everyone for coming. So I'm here to talk about what happened on Tuesday, just gone, and also touch on some of the things that Gemma brought up actually. So last Tuesday, the city of Darwin began considering a motion which contains 3 things. It states council's opposition to this indefinite detention. It calls for the release of the 9 humans in front of us into the community, and finally it calls for the provision of adequate medical care. Councillor or Alderman Justine Glover is present today. She's here in front of us. And I would like to thank her sincerely for her active support in bringing the motion forward and for her behind-the-scenes efforts as well in our attempt to pass it. I've got the text with me and I'm happy to share, but won't now in the interest of time. The motion is a symbolic move, but nevertheless, it's powerful. Council is the voice of the people to the federal parliament. If it were to pass, it would necessarily be communicated to our unenlightened leaders in Canberra, and we know that our movement is a collection of small acts which have a cumulative effect, and this would be another one of those. So thanks again, Council. It's important for us to know, however, that the motion is not guaranteed to pass, as it needs to have majority support. It's not a straightforward route, and those who were there at the community forum on Tuesday would have heard some councillors raise questions like, what is the criminal record of these refugees? Why are they in detention? If they're innocent, then why haven't they been released? Shame. And it's easy to speak here to all of you who already support our friends, but these are questions that the public has been sensitised to ask by the likes of Murdoch, Howard, Abbott and so forth. And if you feel your heart racing like we did upon hearing those questions, then I guess please remember that we need to be receptive and listen and be as objective and informed as possible, and help bring these people on side, the people who ask these questions. This is our ongoing work, I guess, to wine and dine them. We can also practically help the motion by attending the next council meeting, which is on Tuesday, April 13, so not this Tuesday, but the next one. And it's at 5 p.m? 5:30. But please arrive early, so let's say 5, and come upstairs to level 1 with photo ID, as there's a queue and the meetings always start on time. So now I'd like to share something that's on my heart and mind, and take a step back a bit, I guess, to look at how Australia, our country, treats the other, and has been doing so since its inception. And this is from an email that arrived today, actually, from the non-partisan organisation some of you may know, Get Up, and it was related to Senator Pat Dodson's call for the beginning of a federal truth-telling process to recognise the full history of Australia. So please bear with me while I share some of the contents of the email, which I hope you don't see as a conflation of 2 issues, but as an almost identical parallel. So the email said, "To find a solution to any problem, we must first be able to speak about it, to name it, to understand its scale, its origins, and the ways we are impacted by it. Perhaps even the ways some people benefit off its perpetuation. Ignored problems don't go away. They fester, they cause harm, they divide us. The ongoing denial and inability to grapple with the true history of this country, which is our shared history, has an ongoing impact that underpins many harmful policies and experiences of First Nations people. But it also sabotages any ability to move together as a nation and heal. Shamefully and predictably, Patrick Dodson's call failed in the Senate, and Morrison's Liberal Party teamed up with One Nation to keep this country in the dark and voted it down. The Morrison government, shame, they know that if they shine a light on the truth of this place, everywhere and here, they can't maintain the status quo. Stories of colonisation, along with those of pride, of survival and resistance, have been intentionally erased from history books and our classrooms. We need to find the common truth in this world of disinformation and willful ignorance. And the email goes on. Lots of us likely, thank you, freedom. Lots of us can likely see already the many parallels in our treatment of Indigenous people and refugees. The Monash Uni database on Australian border deaths states that official statistics on deaths in immigration detention are scant and there is no official count. They calculate that between 2000 and 2018, 64 deaths have occurred in detention, 41 on shore, and 24 of these have resulted in coronial inquiries. This makes me deeply sad and angry. It's clear that the issues of Aboriginal and refugee justice are intrinsically linked, and it would seem that the one perpetuates and normalises the other. The ungenerous, hostile and shameful attitudes embodied by politicians and sadly many voters are what we will continue to rail against. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Freedom. And yes, let's share our energy in a few chants for freedom. So freedom! Freedom! Justice! Justice! Freedom! Freedom! Justice! Justice! Freedom! Freedom! Justice! Justice! What do we want? Freedom! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Freedom! When do we want it? Now! Thank you.